Joining us now is Tricia McLaughlin from the Department of Homeland Security. Tricia, thank you so much for taking the time. What is the latest of the riots that were happening in Los Angeles?
Charlie, we're seeing that in Los Angeles, the rioters are starting to gear up again for another day of rioting. These are by no means peaceful protests, as Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are trying to force feed the American people. Just last night, we arrested an individual who was throwing Molotov cocktails at our enforcement officers. Our law enforcement, Americans and viewers should be very proud of them in the face of hatred, in the face of taunts, in the face of being pummeled by rocks, by rioters. They've been standing strong with dignity, with patriotism and professionalism. I'm so very proud of them, and I know the rest of the Trump administration is as well.
So let's kind of dive deeper into this. What is the status of the immigration raids in LA, and is the work of ICE being deterred by what is happening on the ground right now in Los Angeles and these riots?
No, we know rioters are trying to slow us down. They're trying to stop us, but not at all, Charlie. We are doubling down. We are ramping up enforcement efforts. I mean, these are just a few of the individuals who we've arrested in the past 72 hours. A rapist with a foreign object, a second-degree murderer. I mean, a murder of who is trying to kill high schoolers. These are horrendous, worst of the worst people, and that we're getting them off of Los Angeles' streets, Charlie. I mean, Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom have been calling for ICE to release all of those arrested. These are heinous individuals who have been convicted of crimes, and we're holding them accountable. We will not be slowing down, Charlie. We're just going to keep going and arresting more illegal immigrants.
Let's play 373, please.
We need to stop the raids. This should not be happening in our city. It is not warranted, and the only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C. On Thursday, the city was peaceful. On Friday, it was not, because of the intervention of the federal government.
So what is your response? It's all Donald Trump's fault, and she says they're not warranted. Your response, Tricia?
Well, first of all, these riots are a natural escalation of the fact that Karen Bass and these other left-wing politicians have been calling our ICE enforcement operators like the Nazis, like the Gestapo. It's disgusting rhetoric. It needs to end. Our ICE enforcement officers are facing a 413% increase in assaults against them, Charlie. But further, our ICE enforcement and our law enforcement are just carrying out the law and getting these illegal immigrants off of American streets. So I think what she's saying is pathetic. She doesn't have the backs of law enforcement, and that's very clear. I'm so glad President Trump has the moral fortitude and the foresight to call in the National Guard and other military resources to make sure that Los Angeles is safe and we don't see what we saw in 2020, which is our great American cities being burned to the ground.
And so talk about the pace at which these raids are happening. About how many arrests are we averaging a day in some of these major cities, such as Los Angeles or New York? And like, for example, LA, we're seeing so much attempts to dox these agents, to go after the ICE officials. And unfortunately, riots like this are putting ICE agents' life in jeopardy when they do these raids and when they go and do these arrests. Why don't you walk our audience through what does a typical raid or arrest look like actually in practice?
Yeah, Charlie, they're very targeted raids. They typically occur early in the morning. Oftentimes they're at work sites because we're looking at people's day-to-day, where they are, what they're doing. But we know who we're arresting when we arrest them. And I know there's been a lot of outcry about mass, which is such a joke, Charlie, because these Homeland Security investigators, they're undercover arresting and targeting members of highly sophisticated cartels like MS-13, like Tren de Aragua, and other criminal gang rings who go forth and try to target our ICE officers, and their families, which is why they are in mass hiding their identity. But when they make these arrests, they clearly present that they're with ICE. They wear ICE vests. There's ICE vehicles. There's no question who these individuals are. But I do want to add, Charlie, it's not it is such a disservice of Karen Bass and of Gavin Newsom to be saying that these operations need to end. What they really should be saying is, hey, if you are in this country illegally, the Trump administration has given you the opportunity to leave now on your own accord. You can have $1,000 as an exit bonus, and you can get a free flight home and preserve the potential opportunity, potentially, to return the legal right way. But if not, we will arrest you, and we will find you, and you will never return to this country.
Amen. And so what will the big, beautiful bill mean for the Department of Homeland Security to be able to increase our deportation numbers? And what is a daily goal that you guys at the department want to hit? And look at those videos. Look at that, guys. I want to keep that up on screen. Those are police officers being pelted with deadly objects, and they had to go under a highway. I want you guys to look at that right there. They're under siege. The police officers are under siege right there by illegal Mexicans, many of whom, that are attacking them for just driving on the street. The lawlessness is remarkable. They're risking their lives for us. And sadly, unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of them are also legal. But Tricia, what will the big, beautiful bill mean for you and your department? And what is a daily goal that you guys want to hit?
Charlie, I'm so glad you brought this up. The big, beautiful bill is going to give our law enforcement the tools and resources they need, not only to get our arrest numbers up of these illegal immigrants. We know that there's about 15 to 20 million in this country alone. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, are criminal illegal aliens, gang members, convicted murderers, rapists, really the worst people on these streets. But when you look at this, and when you look at these historic injunctions by judges who are trying to hamstring our ICE officers, you look at these radical activists who are only ignited by gutter politicians like Gavin Newsom. This is why we need greater resources for our ICE enforcement. On Friday night, our ICE enforcement was completely outnumbered. They were surrounded by a violent mob. That's why we had to call in the National Guard. Thank God for President Trump. And then on Sunday, likewise, they were surrounded by 6,000 rioters, vastly outnumbered. So this is the reason we need, it's not just get those ICE enforcement numbers up, which of course we want those arrest numbers to get up, but it's also for the safety of those law enforcement officers themselves and the safety of American communities. Yes,
and so the increase of ICE agents has not happened since the creation of the department. Can you reiterate that, please? Which is that every other department in the federal government has grown except ICE in the last 20 years, yet we've invited 20 million new people into our country. Please.
Exactly, Charlie. We are vastly underfunded at ICE, and that includes personnel. For the last 4 years, our ICE officers haven't been getting pay increases. They haven't been getting the typical treatment and resources that other law enforcement agencies in this country get. So this is incredibly important, especially when they have such a tall task ahead of them that is a mandate from the American people to get these illegal aliens out of our country. It is a tough job. They're putting their lives on the line. We know there's been an increased amount of doxing. And so we want to incentivize the best and the brightest to come join ICE. And part of that is getting funding from this big, beautiful bill.
And so once this bill is passed and you guys will be able to have the funding to do the deportation effort, as well as securing the southern border, the hot spots in the country, we see Los Angeles, we see Houston, and we're going after the worst of the worst. Can you also talk about visa overstays as well, and how that is also an emphasis and a focus of the deportation efforts of the department?
No, absolutely. And Charlie, as a lot of your viewers probably know, that Boulder terrorist, he wasn't on a visa overstay, that he was illegally in this country. And we talk a lot about how Biden broke the border and just had a porous border, allowing millions of illegal immigrants into this country, but we talk less about how they completely corrupted the integrity of our legal immigration system by these different parole programs, Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, Nicaragua, letting millions of illegal immigrants in, basically by rubber stamp, acting as if they are here legally with very little vetting. That's been a huge problem because we don't quite know who is in our country. We know that through these parole programs like temporary protected status, which is a program that was supposed to just be used in extenuating circumstances and very temporarily, those have been completely corrupted. So it's so important for us to have the resources once we end these programs like CHNV that I just mentioned, like temporary protected status, that we are able to locate these individuals. And if they don't self-deportate on their own, that we're able to pick them up, arrest them, and deport them.
Tricia, thank you for your time. Final thoughts here, 45 seconds. What are the biggest concerns facing the agency, and how can the audience help?
You know, Charlie, I think that the vilification of our law enforcement is incredibly concerning. If you see an ICE officer, if you see a CBP officer, thank them for the hard work they're doing. These gutter politicians really are working overtime to demonize them and vilify them. And please call your congressman, call your senator, and let's get that big, beautiful bill passed, because it is essential for securing our border and getting these arrest numbers of illegal immigrants up.
Tricia, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.